Welcome back to this day. Joining me now is Lenny Ross, President with United Mutual. Lenny, thank you for being here. So I'm curious, how long have you been president with United?
Well, actually, I've been president a few times with United. On the current board, I've been president for the last year, and on the board for about 2 years. And then prior to that, I was on the board for another 2 years as president also.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
two
So
different boards.
you must really enjoy it if you keep coming back.
Yeah, I guess so. maybe so. There's different ways of looking at it, but I guess that's the positive side. Yeah.
What is the most enjoyable about it for you?
Trying to solve communities' bigger problems, and trying to control expenses as best we can. And we're going to talk more about that today. So I think trying to solve our members' problems and trying to look out for our members and coming up with keeping up with the aging infrastructure and all the other inflationary pressures, and try to keep our community as wonderful a place to live as possible.
Yeah.
Tell
me, do you like puzzles?
I do. I do.
Because you seem like that critical thinker. Like, I like to solve things and figure things out and make it work for everybody's benefit.
I do. Yeah. I'd like to do that.
So maybe remind me not to play chess with you.
Oh, okay. I'll do that. Or poker.
Or poker.
I enjoy
Okay.
poker.
So first off, you want to introduce, I remember in the notes I was looking at from the last time United was here that there was an opening for a board position. And so today you have a new member to introduce.
We do. There's a picture of her right there. She's Vidya Kale. She's been in our community 13 years, very active member in our community. She has a legal background and in workers' comp law. So will be very helpful for us with our employees, because we have a lot of employees and we have those kind of issues, workers' comp and other issues like that. So she'll be very helpful with us on the board. And she'll be a big contribution.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. That's great. Well, welcome, Vidya. We're happy to have you. I'm sure the community will definitely benefit. What is all the things that United handles?
United is responsible for anything relating to the co-ops, and so that relates to any of the appliances, because as you know, we have an appliance program where basically anything that's unaltered can be replaced at the HOA's expense. And that includes most of the appliances, the countertops, the flooring. Unlike the condos, this is one of the responsibilities, the advantages of being in a co-op is you buy into a co-op and you have that advantage. And also we're responsible for the upkeep of the co-ops, making sure they're in good condition, making sure members comply with the rules and the regulations of the community, to make sure that the community keeps looking the way it does and is well preserved.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What a great program that is. I was just telling my mom about it the other day. I'm trying to get her in here to come, take a tour of everything. So,
good.
But I thought that was just, I know for her, fixed income and that kind of thing, like these maintenance things can become overwhelming to take care of and do. So I think that's a great thing that's included in the program.
Yeah, and unlike other communities, when you buy your house, for example, outside of Laguna Woods, you're responsible for your roof, which is a major in cost for the homeowner. But in Laguna Woods, whether you buy a co-op or a condo, roofs are replaced and it's part of the homeowner's expense. And it's a big expense. Every 20 years, you're looking at another $20,000, $30,000 to replace your roof. It's a big expense that a typical homeowner has, but not in Laguna Woods. And that's why some of the homeowners' expense is a little bit higher in Laguna Woods, but it covers so much. It really does. It covers all the amenities, which we have many of, and of course it covers your manners as well. So that's why it is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and so now going over the July 11th recap, that meeting, one of the things is talking about this version 2, the completed new budget. What have been the challenges in creating this budget?
Well, we've had some big increases for 2024. One of them is the increase due to property insurance. And property insurance is basically, the increase is because of all the wildfires all over the country. It has resulted in some insurance companies pulling out of California, has resulted in multi-million-dollar increases annually to homeowners like ourselves. And we see no end in sight in this. So we're working to try to come up with some solutions with Third and with other homeowners associations. Maybe we can combine with other large homeowners to see if we can come up with some solution to mitigate this increase. But the increase has been, the last couple of years, about $1 million increase every year for the last several years. And it looks like it's continuing to grow in that direction. And it's a very difficult, complex problem, but we need to come up with some solution to it. So we're working with our attorneys, we're working with VMS insurance experts, and we're working with other homeowners associations. We're working with the state of California to see if they have any suggestions, ideas, and or if any of you out there have any ideas what we could do. If you have an insurance background, maybe you have some ideas you can share with us how we can help to alleviate this problem. But it's a serious issue.
Okay. And so if someone, say, did have some way to be able to help, how would they get a hold of you?
They could contact the general manager's office by emailing the general manager. If they could email them, and it would then address it to me or any other board member, I would get a copy of it.
Okay. All right, good. Well, hopefully, you never know. Maybe somebody out there has some kind of solution. And
well, there's other large increases due to just inflationary pressures, and also because of our aging infrastructure that causes continuing increases in maintenance and construction, just because of, like I said, inflation, costs of increased parts. Landscaping is increasing costs because of inflationary pressures, wage pressures. All the same pressures that affect any other company affect us. And so our biggest costs are maintenance and construction and landscaping, and those continue to escalate. And we're trying to work with VMS to try to control those expenses as well, as best we can. But it's a continuing job, and unfortunately, as our infrastructure continues to age, we try to find new technical solutions, like, for example, the epoxy coating, which we're doing now, to effectively make our pipes last a lot longer. And the coating that goes into the pipes basically protects the pipes and enhances the life of the pipes for another 40, 50 years. So this is a new technology, relatively new technology, and you'll see the trucks, the PRS trucks throughout our community, and it's a new program, relatively new program, but it's a type of thing we need to look at to try to make our infrastructure last longer, and that's one thing that we've done in the last few years.
So, and is that like, if a homeowner, like, all of a sudden they have a pin leak in the wall, so is it going into the homes that are struggling and having trouble, or is this like?
No, it's into the homes that have sewage issues, pipe clogs, clogging of the pipes, or trees that are getting into the roots of the pipes. The roots are getting into the pipes. So if there's any clogs that are going on in the pipes or degradation to the pipes, that causes backup into the manors. Those are called in, and they typically check the pipes to make sure that have these concerns, and if they do, then they go ahead and do this epoxy coating to try to make them last a lot longer. And so this is the process that we go through. It's an expensive process, but it's much less expensive than replacing the pipes.
All the pipes,
which would be a great deal
How
more money.
old are the pipes?
Well, they're as old as our community of 50, 60 years.
Okay.
So, and that's
So they've
the
lasted a
scheduled
long
life
time.
of them. Yeah, they've lasted a long time. So this extends their life, which is good.
And now, is Laguna Woods in the wildfire area? Like, has it been threatened from wildfires previously?
To my knowledge, it hasn't, but maybe if you go back more than a few years, it might have been. Now, if you go west of our area to Laguna Beach or Laguna, those areas have been threatened.
Yes.
And they're not that far from where we're at. So the fires can come from the west to the east and roll right through our community.
Yeah.
And if it hits the area of Third, it could roll into United's area very easily. So we could have a major fire. We haven't, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And hopefully we won't. But we're looking at ways that we can mitigate those issues too, those problems. But we are within a fire zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the insurance companies, they will give fire insurance to this area? I know where I live, like, you can't get fire insurance.
Oh, they will give fire insurance in our areas, but it's
Okay.
just prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Wow. Yeah, I remember back in the 90s when the big Laguna Beach fires happened, and I lived in Dana Point, and seeing that up on the hill, and I mean, of course it was miles and miles away, but it did seem possible, like, oh my gosh, if they don't get control of that, how far could it go?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you see in the pictures on TV that sometimes it goes pretty far. You know, it goes throughout communities and just wipes out communities.
Yeah.
But hopefully, knock on wood, this isn't, but knock on
We
this.
don't need to be worried about fires coming through.
We don't have to be worried about massive fires. We have, just for everyone's knowledge, the co-ops have $225 million of fire insurance. Sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, and that's per occurrence. So every time we have a fire, we look at the damage caused, and if it's under 225 million, it's completely allows us to rebuild the community. And so it is a lot of coverage for our community, which is valued at over $1 billion, but chances of a loss that would wipe out our entire community is pretty remote.
Okay. Okay. Great. And then the ad hoc investment committee, they came to a decision as well. They've now made their selection for a financial advisor.
Yeah, let me back up a little bit,
okay.
because the ad hoc investment committee was formed about 6 months ago, and basically about a year ago, this process started in United. Our investments were not doing well. Our investments and our reserves were not doing well, especially when interest rates kept rising. They were very low for a long period of time, and then about a year ago, they started increasing. And as the interest rates started increasing, our investments went down. So we decided as a board to move our investments, sell all our investments, and move into treasury bills, which now pay about 4 to 5%, and they're safe and secure. And we're starting to now recover a lot of the losses that we had from last year, and we'll continue that. But in addition, one of our directors, Azar Ascari, brought in, our finance director, brought in some very talented residents and formed this committee, this ad hoc investment committee. And their purpose was severalfold. Their purpose was to come up with an investment policy, a new investment policy, to make sure that we never have the investments that we had prior when we were losing money. and we would only have the safest possible investments. And secondly, to that investment policy was that we would pick a investment advisor who would help us we're not professional investors, so we need some guidance in that area. So that was the second part of the policy of this ad hoc committee. And they've completed both and have now disbanded. But, and the financial advisor who we selected is Chase Bank, which is one of the largest banks in the country. And they will be assisting United with going forward with our reserves and our investments on the reserves, which we think can only help us in the future. So we've selected an investment policy, an investment advisor, and going forward, we think we're going to do real well, and we're going to have the safest possible investments for our residents, for our reserves, so that we'll hopefully never have a situation that occurred a year ago. And we're continuing to recover from that now.
So were the investments that you had previously, were they low to medium risk type thing?
They were in bond funds, which we probably in retrospect shouldn't have been in, like municipal bonds and bond funds. When you're in a series of bond funds, they tend to be a little more risky than individual T-bills or in cash or CDs or things like that are federally protected and have relatively no risk. And so they generally were a little more risky, and we probably shouldn't, in retrospect, we probably shouldn't have been in those.
Okay. Great, well good. Well, I'm glad you now have Chase Bank to help and that things will definitely be on a better standing. And I think your last topic was recognition agreement for the non-institutional lenders?
Yeah, that is the last subject, the recognition agreement. And this is, we currently have a program for institutional lenders that will agree to sign our recognition agreement. And the recognition agreement, just for all of your information, is basically says to the bank, whoever's loaning us the money, that if a homeowner stops paying on their homeowners association dues, then the bank that loaned them the money for the loan will pay for the homeowner that has stopped or is in default of paying the dues. And this is the agreement that the bank takes on by signing the recognition agreement, that they will do that. Now, we've had a very, very low default rate. It's under 2% of the residents stop paying their homeowners fees, which is very good. And the chances of a default are very small. But still, we require that. So we do have currently a program that allows institutional banks and so forth who are willing to sign a recognition agreement to engage and supply loans to our residents. What we don't have is a non-institutional lender program. And this is the program where if you wanted to get some money from your aunt or uncle, and they have some money to give you, to loan to you, with this program, they would be able to supply you money to help you with your loan. Now, we haven't had, effectively, we've been without loans for the last 2 years because NCB pulled out of loaning to our residents when we didn't have the necessary insurance that we needed to. In order to have the necessary property insurance, which we talked about before, we would have to have a full replacement cost, which is $1 billion of coverage. We have 225 million. So without having that full coverage, NCB pulled out, and effectively, we've had no loans in our community for the last 2 years. So in order to recoup now, so that people could refinance, if they want to refinance, or people can get a loan for our co-ops, we're probably going to pass this program in the next month.
Okay.
But it hasn't passed yet. and that will bring in some extra ability to loan residents money, even from close relatives or someone like that. That would
Oh,
be
that's great.
non-institutional lenders.
Okay, wonderful, great, thank you.
Oh, you're
Thank you for the
welcome.
updates and the recap. It was so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
We will see you again next time. So stay with us because we have announcements and weather coming up here on this day.